Mr. Waxman, I can't help but wonder whether some of the struggle you've had this morning with my colleagues about the scope of the aiding and abetting statute it comes from your reading of the text and turning to 2333D2. As I understand it, you read the aiding and abetting clause as taking as its object the act of international terrorism rather than the person who committed the act. And that seems a pretty abstract way to read the statute. Aiding an action or an explosion or something like that in the world, it's very different than how we normally read aiding and abetting statutes, or the understand the common law, where you have to aid and abet a person. And you read the conspiracy clause to take as its object a person, the person. And I just wonder whether the better reading of the statute is that both of those who clauses, both the aiding and abetting and the conspiracy clause, take as their object the person who committed the act of international terrorism. And I wonder why you haven't pressed that argument a little bit further, because it seems to me it helps you. The plaintiff would have to plead and prove that the defendant helped, aided and abetted, or conspired with a person who committed an act of international terrorism. And the Dictionary Act defines persons as real persons and juridical entities, not an explosion or some other action in the world. And here the complaint alleges 3 people involved in the attack and doesn't link up your conduct, your client's conduct, necessarily in any very clear way to those 3 persons. What am I missing?
I don't think you're missing anything with respect, but let me make clear what our position is with respect to the object of the couplet aids and abets. Our brief doesn't.
Are you sure you want to do that?
I want my position to be as pellucid as I can make it to the court for the court's consideration. We think that the better reading of the object of abets is, as the government and the respondents supporting the petitioner argue at length, is in fact the act of international terrorism. It is not.
I didn't. I was fearful. Maybe we ought to just stop, Mr. Waxman, and maybe I ought to let my colleagues proceed.
Okay. Did I answer your question?
Yeah. I don't know why you're resisting, however, that both of those clauses take as their object the person.
I am not. I think it is perfectly fine to read the object as the person who committed the act of international terrorism, but it is in the nature of abetting criminal activity that it is assisting and aiding and abetting the person in the commission of the act of international terrorism. It is not coherent. It is
How about this? How about reading the statute for just what exactly it says? A person who aids and abets, ... the person who committed such an act of international terrorism. Would you support reading the statute for what it says?
I think this. I support reading the statute for what it says. The statute says abetting. And
no, it says who aids and abets, and then I'm going to put in some ellipses because it then goes on to conspiracy. The person who committed such act of international terrorism. Any objection to that?
No, with the understanding that the use of the verb abets means assisting the person in committing the act. And as the Facebook and Google brief points out, every time a statute uses person as the object of aiding and abetting, it goes on to make that clear.
Of course. I take that as given.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.